Welcome to your Health Facts. Today we'll be exploring how to navigate the world of nutrition after 50. We'll uncover which nutrients we need to be careful with as we age and which ones we might actually need more of.
As we age, our bodies change, and so do their nutritional needs. What may have been beneficial in our younger years can sometimes become a risk later in life, and some nutrients become even more crucial as we get older.
So let's start with the nutrients we should be careful with as we get into our 50s and beyond. Iron is essential, but it can also present a bit of a challenge. Our bodies have a hard time getting rid of excess iron.
Exactly. And this excess iron can accumulate in the liver, and it can increase the risk of infections. This is especially concerning for people with weaker immune systems. Also, high iron levels can actually deplete the body's zinc, which is another important nutrient. One way to manage this excess iron is through blood donation. And for those experiencing anemia, I recommend getting iron from natural sources. Things like red meat, liver, or spleen extract would be good options rather than just relying on supplements.
Okay, so another nutrient to watch out for is calcium. Now, we all know calcium is important for strong bones, but like you were saying, too much of a good thing can actually backfire.
That's right. Excessive calcium intake is common, especially through supplements. And this can lead to calcium buildup in the arteries and in the kidneys. This can contribute to a lot of health issues, including high blood pressure. It's ironic because high blood pressure is often treated with medications called calcium channel blockers. Also, even though vitamin D is essential for calcium absorption, high doses of vitamin D can lead to too much calcium in the blood.
Interesting. Now, what about vitamin A? I understand there's a difference between natural vitamin A and the synthetic kind.
Yes, exactly. Unlike natural vitamin A, which is found in foods like cod liver oil, egg yolks, and butter, the synthetic version of vitamin A can potentially contribute to liver damage. And it's also been linked to osteoporosis and increased pressure in the skull, which can lead to headaches. So it's always a good idea to get your nutrients from whole food sources if possible.
Makes sense. Now, let's talk about a nutrient that often has a bad reputation: sodium. It seems like we are constantly being told to avoid sodium, but is it really all bad?
Well, sodium is absolutely essential for energy production, and this becomes even more vital as we age. While, of course, moderation is important with any nutrient, we shouldn't completely demonize sodium. It plays a crucial role in maintaining many different bodily functions. As we continue this deep dive into nutrition for the over 50 crowd, let's look at some common misconceptions and the benefits of some specific vitamins that people don't always talk about.
Yeah, the world of nutrition can feel really overwhelming with so much information out there and sometimes conflicting advice. So let's try to break down what really matters for staying healthy as we get older.
Absolutely. One nutrient that deserves a lot more attention is vitamin C. There's been a lot of debate about whether synthetic vitamin C is really effective, but recent research suggests that taking it in high doses can actually provide some pretty amazing benefits, especially when it comes to allergies and maybe even fighting cancer.
That's really interesting. We hear so much about vitamin C for colds, but allergies and cancer are not usually the first things that come to mind.
Right. Well, high-dose vitamin C has been shown to reduce histamine levels, which is what causes those annoying allergy symptoms. And there's a growing body of research that suggests it could even play a role in cancer treatment. But more research is definitely needed. But of course, getting vitamin C from natural sources like sauerkraut is always a good thing.
Absolutely. Now let's switch gears and talk about B vitamins, specifically niacin, which is also known as vitamin B3. I know this is an important nutrient for everyone, but I think it becomes even more crucial after 50.
I completely agree. Niacin has a ton of benefits. It's actually one of the few substances that can increase good cholesterol. And that's really important for maintaining good heart health. As we age, DNA repair becomes more and more important, and niacin plays a key role in that process. And as we get older, we tend to have less energy. Niacin can help combat that fatigue. One thing to be aware of, though, is that niacin can sometimes cause a flushing sensation when you first start taking it. To minimize this effect, it's best to start with a low dose and gradually increase it over time. It's always a good idea to talk to your doctor to figure out the right dosage for you.
That's really helpful advice.
Yeah.
Now, what about magnesium? I feel like this is a mineral that often gets overlooked, but it plays such a vital role in counterbalancing the effects of all that calcium we talked about earlier.
Magnesium is absolutely essential, especially as we get older. It helps prevent calcium buildup in the arteries and the kidneys, which of course reduces the risk of heart problems and kidney stones. Magnesium is also really beneficial for blood pressure regulation. It can help relax muscles, reduce stress, and it can even improve sleep quality. Magnesium deficiency is actually more common than people realize, and it can manifest in all sorts of ways. from muscle cramps and fatigue to anxiety and sleep disturbances. So, yeah, making sure we're getting enough magnesium is really important for overall well-being, especially for the over 50 crowd.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to a nutrient that often sparks a lot of debate, vitamin D. There are so many different opinions about how much vitamin D we need and whether high doses are safe.
Right. There's this big misconception that high doses of vitamin D are toxic, but actually our bodies are incredibly efficient at processing vitamin D. To put things into perspective, spending just 40 minutes in the sun can give your body around 20,000 IUs of vitamin D3 naturally. So the concerns about toxicity are often overblown. I usually recommend about 10,000 IUs per day because research shows that's a safe and effective amount for most people. But again, talking to your doctor to figure out the optimal dose for you is always a good idea.
Now let's move on to vitamin K1, which I think is another nutrient that gets misunderstood.
Definitely, vitamin K1 is absolutely essential for normal blood clotting. But there's this myth that if you take too much, it'll cause your blood to clot too much. But that's simply not true. Vitamin K1 makes sure that clotting happens at a normal, healthy rate. It doesn't cause any unnecessary clotting. It's important to debunk these myths because they can prevent people from getting the nutrients they need.
So how can we make sure we're getting enough vitamin K1 in our diet?
Well, dark leafy greens are a great source of vitamin K1, so make sure you're incorporating those into your diet. Also, some fermented foods like natto are high in vitamin K2, which we'll talk about more in a minute.
Okay, so let's talk about vitamin K2. What's so special about this one?
Vitamin K2 is really important for keeping our bones and our hearts healthy. It works together with vitamin D to make sure calcium is being used properly in the body. And beyond its role in calcium metabolism, vitamin K2 also supports energy production and mitochondrial function, which are both essential for overall health and vitality, especially as we age.
This has been a really fascinating discussion. I'm learning so much about how important these nutrients are and how they all work together to keep us healthy as we get older.
It's been great talking about all this with you. You know, the choices we make about what we eat have a huge impact on our health, especially as we age.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you've given us so much to think about when it comes to those key nutrients and which ones to be more mindful of as we get older.
You know, what we've covered today is really just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to learn about nutrition, and I encourage everyone to keep exploring and figuring out how to optimize their health through diet and specific nutrients.
Yes, absolutely. And for our listeners who want to dive even deeper into all of this, I highly recommend subscribing to yourhealthfacts.com. It's a great resource for all things health and nutrition.
As we wrap up this deep dive into nutrition for the over 50 crowd, I just want to emphasize that knowledge is power. The more we understand about how our bodies use these different nutrients, the better choices we can make to live longer, healthier lives.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining us on Your Health Facts. We hope you found this discussion informative and empowering. Until next time, stay curious and take care of yourselves.